In this session we shall be looking at index numbers. Now, index numbers are something that accountants use in order to assist in forecasting activity levels, revenues or costs. An index number states a value in terms of another value. So we're looking at a proportion, and we'll always use the same base value. The base value is usually given an index value of 100. It doesn't have to be, but typically 100 is the amount that's used. Then we convert other values into an index number by using the following formula. So our index number is going to equal the value that we're converting divided by the base value multiplied by 100. Let's have a look at an illustration. A business has decided to use index numbers to keep track of the cost of one of its materials. So the table that I'm going to bring up on the screen shows the cost of the material since the start of the year. And as we see, each month the cost per kilogram has changed. Now it's decided to use January's cost as the base value, or the base period. Frankly, we could have picked any of the different months in this period, but we'll use January's. So here's our table again, and this time we're going to show the calculation required to convert to an index number. Well, January is the base period, so that's going to be given a value of 100. February, we're going to convert that £10.30 into a relative or measure, otherwise known as an index number. So we take the value of £10.30 and divide it by January's cost, which is the base period of £10.40, and multiply by 100. And we do the same for all of the other months in the period. You'll notice in each case we're dividing by £10.40, that base period. Once we've done our calculations, we've got our index numbers. So January, that's the base period, it's going to have an index number of 100. All of the other values will be showing the relative size of that month's value in terms of the base period. Typically with index numbers we work to one decimal place, although that can vary as well. Now, what does this mean? If an index number is greater than 100, greater than our base period, that means that the actual value for that period or that value is greater than the base value. If it's less than 100, that means our actual value is less than the base value. And often index numbers are used to clearly identify whether or not there has been whether or not there is a trend for the values to increase over time, or to fall over time, or to stay constant. Now, what do we use our index numbers for? Well, as we said before, they can help us forecast. We can also convert index numbers to actual values, so we can work backwards, and we can do this by restating that formula we showed earlier on. So we'll show the restated formula. Here our value is going to equal the index number of that value divided by 100 multiplied by the base value. So let's go back to our illustration. The index values for the cost of our material, well, we've gone and spoken to an expert, and they've suggested that the index values are going to be 102.3 in November 2014 and 103.5 in December. So now we're going to take those values and convert it into an actual cost. So our base value was at January 2014, and at that point the cost of the material was £10.40 per kilogram. So here's our formula again. The value is going to equal the index number for our value divided by 100 multiplied by that base value. So the November 2014, it's going to equal 102.3 divided by 100 multiplied by £10.40, and that works out at £10.64. For December 2014, the value is going to equal 103.5 divided by 100 multiplied by £10.40, and that works out at £10.76. So in November we think the cost is going to be £10.64. In December we think it's going to be £10.76.